In today's special episode of SIP Heroes, we bring you an inspiring story of a businessman who has turned to mutual funds time and again to manage the money flow for his business.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम अभिजीत पाटिल और लास्ट 15 साल से मैं म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट करता हूँ।
With 15 years of investing experience, his journey shows how mutual funds became not just a financial tool but a lifeline during changing circumstances. Let's dive into his story. अभिजीत जी, बहुत धन्यवाद आपका हमारे साथ बात करने के लिए। पहले तो मुझे थोड़ा अपने बारे में बताइए ना, आपका बैकग्राउंड क्या है, आपका बिजनेस के बारे में बताइए।
आई एम द आर्किटेक्ट कंसल्टेंट, मोस्ट ऑफ द आर्किटेक्ट वर्क इज देयर। सो देयर वहाँ उसमें जो लाइसेंसिंग रहती है, लैंड रिलेटेड पूरा जो सर्टिफिकेट सब क्लियर करना रहता है वो मैं करता हूँ। सो दिस इज़ माई लास्ट 15 ईयर्स से मैं सानवी कंसल्टिंग के नाम पे मेरे कंपनी, उसमें प्राइवेट लिमिटेड, उसमें मेरा काम चल रहा है।
सर, एक चीज़ आपसे जानना चाहूँगा, क्योंकि आप बिजनेसमैन हैं, लेकिन मैं ये भी जानता हूँ कि आप रेगुलर इन्वेस्टर भी रहे हैं और अभी भी हैं म्यूचुअल फंड्स में। तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा मुझे बताइए कि कैसे स्टार्ट किया, कब स्टार्ट किया म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्टमेंट, और अभी भी रेगुलरली आप कर रहे हैं?
देखिए, अभी ये जो म्यूचुअल फंड्स का किसी ने, एक मेरे गुरु है, मैं अभी नाम नहीं ले रहा उनका, उन्होंने मुझे समझाया व्हाट इज़ अ म्यूचुअल फंड। फर्स्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट की सिंपल 1000 2000 समथिंग। और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट, हम बिजनेस करते हैं तो कभी कभी उतार चढ़ाव बहुत आ जाता है, तो उस टाइम म्यूचुअल फंड बहुत ही हमको हेल्प करता है। फॉर एग्जांपल, अभी जब कोरोना आया था तभी हम लोगों को इतना प्रॉब्लम हुआ था, सबके पेमेंट्स करने थे, तभी म्यूचुअल फंड विद इन 24 आवर्स में पैसा निकाल के उनको दे सका। उसके बाद जब काम बढ़ गया तो वही ज़्यादा म्यूचुअल फंड मैंने ज़्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट की। सेकेंडली, अभी मैं सबके लिए बोलता हूँ, जब मेरी डॉटर बॉर्न हुई, एवरी मंथ उनका SIP चला जाता है म्यूचुअल फंड में, एवरी मंथ। वो कुछ भी हो उनको देता हूँ, बच्चे के लिए भी। लास्ट टाइम जस्ट मैंने चेक किया, दिस अमाउंट इज़ रियली ह्यूज। सो आफ्टर 18 ईयर्स मुझे डॉटर के लिए कुछ करना नहीं पड़ेगा, क्योंकि उसके म्यूचुअल फंड के पैसे उसको आगे लेके जाएगी। फॉर एग्जांपल, उसको यूनिवर्सिटी, बाहर यूनिवर्सिटी जाना है तो नो नीड टू माय मनी, हर मनी इज सफिशिएंट फॉर दिस। सो म्यूचुअल फंड इज रियली इंपॉर्टेंट। और म्यूचुअल फंड कैसे है कि म्यूचुअल फंड में अभी फॉर एग्जांपल शेयर मार्केट में मैं चला जाता हूँ, शेयर मार्केट में हम अपने सोच से काम करते हैं, अपने सोच से काम करते हैं शेयर मार्केट में। बट म्यूचुअल फंड में, म्यूचुअल फंड के लिए वहाँ एक्सपर्ट्स बैठे हैं, हमको सोचना ही है, दे प्रॉपरली इन्वेस्ट करते हैं।
तो इसमें अभिजीत जी, एक तो ग्रेट है कि आप डॉटर के लिए मतलब जब से वो बॉर्न हुई है तब से आप इन्वेस्ट करें, सो दैट इज ग्रेट कि आप लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग।
एग्जैक्टली, लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग। म्यूचुअल फंड फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म टाइम, नॉट फॉर जस्ट आज डाला तो मैं कल निकाला। आप जितना लॉन्ग टर्म यूज करोगे, आप लॉन्ग टर्म रखोगे, बेनिफिट भी उतना ही मिलेगा। तो लोगों, मैं तो स्पेशली सबको बोलता हूँ कि आप इन्वेस्ट करो और भूल जाओ। व्हेन आपको नेसेसरी हो, नीड हो, तभी इसको निकालो, तब तक आप इन्वेस्ट करो।
क्योंकि वो बोलते हैं ना सर, वो जो टेक्निकल टर्म होता है पावर ऑफ कंपाउंडिंग, जिसका मतलब वही है कि जितना लंबा रखो उससे पैसे से भी पैसा ग्रो करता है। एग्जैक्टली। तो अभिजीत जी, जैसे आपने बताया कोविड-19 में शुरुआत में मार्केट डाउन हुआ, तो आपने पोर्टफोलियो देखा होगा और वो लग गया होगा कि यार पोर्टफोलियो इतना कम हो गया है, तो तब क्या ये सोचा था कि नहीं बेच के निकल लेते हैं क्योंकि मार्केट गिर गया है?
सो दिस इज अ नॉर्मल, अप डाउन तो रहता ही है ना। मीन सिंपल बोलता हूँ, मुझे एक सुंदर मैंने कहाँ पढ़ा था, अभी मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा है, कि ये जब आदमी डेड हो जाता है ना तभी ऐसी लाइन होती है, जब आदमी जिंदा रहता है वो अप डाउन रहता है। तो अप डाउन इज इम्पोर्टेंट ना, वो उसमें नहीं देखने का। म्यूचुअल फंड है और म्यूचुअल फंड के लिए जो एक्सपर्टीज बैठे हैं वो देखेंगे। क्योंकि मैंने अभी तक, मुझे नहीं लगा कि मुझे डाउन फेस मिला है, सिर्फ कोविड के टाइम ही थोड़ा सा था, फिर आफ्टर दैट म्यूचुअल फंड इज इंक्रीजिंग।
और इसमें जैसे आपने भी कहा कि जैसे बिजनेस है तो कोई महीने में इनकम ज़्यादा आ जाती है, कोई महीने में कम होती है, तो लेकिन जब ज़्यादा है, तो जब ज़्यादा इनकम है तो वो एक्स्ट्रा मनी क्या आप म्यूचुअल फंड में डाल?
100% म्यूचुअल फंड में डालना पड़ता है, तो डालना ही पड़ता है, क्योंकि बाद में ये पैसे को बढ़ाता है, ये ग्रोथ और हो जाएगा।
जी।
और कैलकुलेशन के हिसाब से म्यूचुअल फंड सेफ है।
हाँ, और एक अभिजीत जी, मैं जानता हूँ आपके पास एक फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर है। उनका मुझे ये बताइए, द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ अ रोल ऑफ अ फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर। आपको कैसे, आप कितने साल से उनके साथ हैं, जुड़े हुए हैं, और कैसा बेनिफिट मिला है, कैसा रहा है?
एडवाइज़र तो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है। जैसे अपने फिजिकल मेडिकल एडवाइज़र रहते हैं, फाइनेंशियल एडवाइज़र बहुत कम है। लकीली मुझे अच्छे मिले। उन्होंने हमको सिखाया कि जो रखना है वो लॉन्ग टर्म में रखो, फास्ट पे मत भागो। फास्ट पे भागोगे तो हो सकता है बहुत, लॉन्ग टर्म में सेफ है। जो उतार चढ़ाव होता है उस लॉन्ग टर्म में वो मर्ज हो चला जाता है। सो मुझे तो नहीं लगता कि आज डालो और कल डबल ट्रिपल करो, दिस इज द रॉन्ग।
अभिजीत जी, एक तो बहुत बढ़िया है कि आपने बच्चों के लिए बचपन से ही उनके नाम का इन्वेस्टमेंट चालू कर दिया है, लेकिन वो तो एसआईपी हो रहा है आपका।
एग्जैक्टली।
बट एक और चीज़ होती है कि लोग कहते हैं दैट म्यूचुअल फंड में एसआईपी के जरिए कर सकते हैं, और लमसम, मतलब एक बड़ा अमाउंट आ गया, किसी का बोनस आ गया, या आपके बिजनेस में, तो क्या वो भी आप यूज़ करते हैं, जैसे जब बिजनेस में थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा?
100% करता हूँ। कभी कभी बिजनेस में सडनली कोई प्रॉफिट अच्छा आ गया, क्योंकि हमारा तो चढ़ा उतार रहता ही रहता है, तो जब आता है तभी मैं लमसम अमाउंट म्यूचुअल फंड में डाल देता हूँ। मेरा यही है कि जब नीड हो, जब रियली ज़रूरत हो, तभी म्यूचुअल फंड निकालो, नहीं तो कंटिन्यूस करो।
तो ये म्यूचुअल फंड जो आप रिडीम जैसे बोलते हैं, म्यूचुअल फंड के यूनिट्स बेच के पैसे वापस आ जाते हैं, एक पॉइंट ज़रूरी आपसे उसके लिए पूछना चाहूँ, क्योंकि आपका बिजनेस है तो लिक्विडिटी भी आपको चाहिए होती है, कि कभी कभी आ जाता है सडन एक बिग पेमेंट करना पड़ता है, तो उसमें भी म्यूचुअल फंड्स आपको हेल्प कर देते हैं?
कभी ऐसे इम्पोर्टेंस या कुछ सडनली कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो गया या पैसा चाहिए, उस टाइम म्यूचुअल फंड में रिडीम कर देता हूँ। विदिन 24 आवर्स मेरे अकाउंट्स में पे हो जाता है और मैं क्लियर हो जाता हूँ। इसमें एक मैं और ऐड करता हूँ, मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए लैंड लेते हैं, फ्लैट्स लेते हैं एक्स्ट्रा, और जब इस टाइप पे जब इशू हो जाता है, ज़रूरत हो जाती है, तभी ये अटक जाते हैं, क्योंकि लिक्विडिटी अटक जाती है। फ्लैट विदिन 24 आवर्स हम बेच नहीं सकते, लैंड नहीं बेच सकते, उसके लिए आपको 1 ईयर्स 2 ईयर्स कभी कभी, वी डोंट नो। सो मेरा कहना है कि ओके, इन्वेस्ट करो आप लैंड में, मुझे इसमें कुछ ये नहीं है। जब पर म्यूचुअल फंड भी इम्पोर्टेंट है जब ऐसा ज़रूरत है पैंडेमिक सिचुएशन आने के लिए।
जी। एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन बस अभिजीत जी आपसे, कि आपकी क्या एडवाइस होगी हमारे जो व्यूअर्स हैं, बोथ जो बिजनेसमैन हैं, जो फैमिली मैन भी हैं, उनको आपकी क्या एडवाइस रहेगी अबाउट म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टमेंट्स?
मैं तो इतना ही बोल रहा हूँ, जैसे हो सके, जितना हो सके उतना इन्वेस्ट करो, लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए इन्वेस्ट करो, और जब ज़रूरत हो रियली उसकी नीड हो, तभी उसको रिडीम करो, क्योंकि जितना इन्वेस्ट करोगे उतना पैसा पैसे को बढ़ा देता है, और वही पैसा जब ज़रूरत होता है तभी यूज़ करो। बस इतने और कुछ नहीं।
थैंक यू वेरी मच अभिजीत जी हमारे से बात करने के लिए और आपका एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करने के लिए। Today we're going to be talking about why mutual funds are suitable for entrepreneurs, how entrepreneurs, business owners, how they can use the power of mutual funds to manage their money, to manage their investments. And to talk to me about that, I have a very special expert in studio with me. I'm joined by Kailash Kulkarni, the CEO of HSBC Mutual Fund. Kailash, thank you so much for talking to me here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Always a pleasure. So, Kailash, first thing, the nature of entrepreneurs, business owners, is that their income is sporadic. Sometimes they'll have a great month, a great year, then the other time it's a lean period for them. How would you advise them? How can they use the power of mutual funds to help them in their financial journey?
I think it's a very valid question, because business by nature could be cyclical for some people. One quarter and the other quarter earnings will not necessarily be the same. So obviously it becomes a little tougher in terms of predictability of how much they can invest. But what they can do is, depending on their last 2 years, 3 years track record, they can really understand what is the basic minimum that they will continue to earn. And very simple, if it's long-term money, invest in a SIP. And as and when you have that surplus quarters or surplus months that you have, you can do top-ups exactly in the same product that is there. But it's important, why are you investing this money? So for example, in a businessman, if you are looking at buying a very advanced machine from Germany or some very developed country, and you know it's going to cost a few crores, you may want to look at a different category of investments and not equity only, right? But if you are looking at your own future, etc., and it's long term, you can continue to look at equity SIPs. I think the misconception is that SIPs can only be done in equity is not the right way. It can be done across asset classes.
Absolutely. And Kailash, what about the fact that sometimes also happens that they might have a lump sum amount that might come in. So sometimes there's a sizable amount of profit. Then is it all right to just put it in a lump sum, or should they do maybe STP, or how would you guide them on that?
So again, it's really on the risk appetite of the person and how that money he wants to deploy, again, how long a period that he wants to deploy. Ideally, we generally advise people that if you are somebody who's a little scared of the market volatility, put into, let's say, a short-term fund, debt fund, and after 3 months, you can start doing STPs into equity, or you put it for a year, and post a year, then you start moving it into equity through STP. That's the ideal way. But there is absolutely no harm in putting the entire lump sum one time also into equity funds if your horizon is like a 7, 10, 15 year kind of horizon. So there's nothing right or wrong about it. It's just a question of how you are placed from a risk appetite perspective.
Very important point. So they have to obviously analyze their situation, their behavior, their investment behavior. Kailash, you know, one other thing happens is that generally in India, if you're looking at those small, mid-sized businesses, very often businesses want to plow back their profits into the business again. So they use that money to help build the business. In that scenario, and your experience dealing with these type of businessmen, entrepreneurs, what's the way that they can do to, because when they're putting all the money into the business, they're missing out on diversification. So what's your take on that?
So, you know, I'm going to really split this question into 2 parts because you specifically addressed the small and mid-sized businessmen. And I think they need to learn something from the more savvier corporates that are there in India today and how they manage their surplus money. So while you have banking and banking related products which are there, sometimes a part of that money they also deploy into treasury related products which are there. In our case, what is called a liquid fund or an overnight fund or ultra short term fund or money market fund. These are shorter term fixed income products by nature, and they smartly use this to earn some additional money than what they were doing earlier, rather than keeping the money idle. And the beauty about it is all of this is available in one working day in terms of redemption. So if you have put in a redemption amount before the cutoff time and next working day is a business day, by about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, you get the money into your account. So you don't lose out on liquidity, which is the biggest fear in the mind of the small businessman. And how does it help? It's small amounts, but at the end of the day, you'll be surprised that these small amounts can end up paying 1 month electricity bill or, you know, taking care of a salary for 2 people in the office. And why am I saying this is these small and mid-sized businessmen, apart from the profits and the growth of the business, they are always very conscious about how can I control my costs. And this is the way, by using the money smartly and putting it into those super short-term products like a treasury management, what large corporates do, their ability to earn some money, which is taking care of some kind of overhead is there, and that's how they control their costs also. So that's the first part.
Right.
The second is obviously businessmen or entrepreneurs, they typically like to earn something more than 20% plus in terms of when they put it into their business. And what we have seen is extremely successful entrepreneurs or businessmen who have had a long track record of success. They say that I am already taking a risk in my business because I'm earning, but I understand the risk I take in my business.
Right.
So my surplus money actually goes into capital protected, or not capital protected, but some kind of product which gives them a more sustainable, simple growth, but could be better than the traditional products which are there. So they choose fixed income products like a bond fund or a gilt fund, Government of India Securities Fund, to park their money. So it's a very different way. They will not take the money to take the equity risk, because they say I'm already getting equity like returns in my own business. So my money is for protection, my surplus money, and they actually participate on the fixed income side of the market quite substantially.
But then that's great, because they get this from, I mean, the beauty is deciding on which mutual fund product to pick, and that can help them in all these avenues of their requirement. Let's say this is the rosy picture. Now look at the tougher side, because again, like businesses, some days it's boom, some days it's slow business. They might not even be making enough to cover their costs if it's a downturn that time. The thought of how, like you mentioned earlier also, the liquidity, and so can they use the SWP method there to kind of help them cover their expenses, like you said, electricity bill or whatever?
Yes. So systematic withdrawal plan, which is SWP, is once you have put in money and the money is lying there for a long time, it has grown, you can choose to withdraw either a fixed amount every month, say 10,000 rupees or 15,000 rupees every month, and it keeps coming back into your account on a monthly basis, or you can choose to put in a redemption of any amount. Say a particular month you have a shortfall of say 50,000 rupees or a lakh rupees. You can withdraw the 1 lakh rupees as a normal withdrawal. You don't have to withdraw the entire amount. The ability of a mutual fund to be able to be flexible enough to the needs of the investor is possibly the best thing it is there. So if you put in a lump sum in say a corporate, in a bond, actual bond in the market, you have to sell the whole thing. It's very difficult to sell parts of it. Okay? Or a fixed deposit, you break the whole fixed deposit, or you put multiple fixed deposits and then you only withdraw the amount you want. Here you can choose to withdraw the amount or number of units that you want. That's the flexibility it is there. You know, when you again, you're talking about this, right? And I mentioned fixed income fund, I mentioned equity. One of the biggest challenges that are there is not too many people know that a mutual fund is not just equity.
Yes.
It spreads across a one-day investment to a multi-year investment till your retirement, you know. So you can choose different kinds of product, different kinds of arrays in purchasing what you want to do.
And also different asset classes. So now gold, even real estate, you can get exposure to that through the mutual funds here in India. One important part sometimes, Kailash, happens is, okay, so when people are running their business, they're of course hiring the services of experts. So you'll hire a CA, you'll hire a lawyer, or even a consultant for a specific thing. The thought, when we talk to individuals, we always say that, you know, it's better to get a investment advisor, hire one, so that who can look at your portfolio from a full 360-degree point of view. Should that also be applicable to businessmen, entrepreneurs?
You should invest directly in the stock market. If you have, or through equity funds, which fund to choose, what fund to choose. If you have two qualities, one, you can study the market in detail, in depth, as much as our fund managers can, and two, you should have the time. Now, many people are extremely interested in the stock market, so they do a lot of depth and study. But because you are running a business full time, you don't have the time to track it, right? That's when you go to a fund advisor or a fund distributor whose full-time job is to choose the right fund to suggest to you.
Right.
So that's very, very important. And I can say the same thing, right? Today, let's say everybody can file income tax. You can go directly and file income tax, but how many of us choose to go directly and file income tax? You choose a chartered accountant to help you out, right? The help is not because you don't know. The help is an additional kind of a, you can say, substantiation of your idea that yes, I am headed in the right direction and there's an expert who's guiding me to it. So I believe always you should have a good distributor or a good advisor advising you on what, where, how to invest, and it is his or her job to choose amongst the thousands of funds which are the 3, 4, 5, 8 funds which are required for that particular investor.
Super. One last point, Kailash, is very often in Indian businesses, especially if they're like family-owned businesses, what happens is the entrepreneur, the business person doesn't pay themselves. They'll be like, there's no concept of maybe some, like the smaller ones, at least there's no concept of salary. There's like, jo hai, wo, but somewhere the goals of a business are different from personal goals, like a person's retirement, their child's education, their child's marriage. How would you guide them on this important part to do business ka financial planning ek hai, but personal financial planning is also should not be ignored rather.
So I think it's a extremely important point. Number one, you may be phenomenal in your business and you may put your entire 100 rupees, whatever you earn, into your business. But please understand, then you're putting your eggs in one basket. However successful you have been, there can be a downturn. Simple example, we went through 2020, right? Which was COVID. I think that taught all of us a lot of lessons, right? I could have had the most successful shop earning crores of rupees, but then the shop was shut. It did not open for months. So my income, which was so sustainable, went down to zero suddenly. Now, what is that teaching you? You need to treat business independently and you need to treat your personal goals independently. Whether it is children's education, higher education, marriage, exotic foreign trip, or your own retirement. You need to segregate these two and start investing for yourself a portion of that money from the business also, because hopefully it should never have a downturn. But like you said, COVID happened, it did have a downturn to many businesses. I think that is a very important thing. So treat these two separately. Even the risk profiles change for both the scales. In business, you are willing to take a higher risk because you understand it more. You may want to take a lower risk. So you can choose hybrid products, you can choose index funds. There are variety of products which are there, and that's something that you can live with.
Super. Well, thank you so much, Kailash, for coming in and for talking to us and for shedding light on this important topic.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.